Hey again, it's Christina from Sunshine and Flora. If you are new to my channel, I grow cut flowers in Zone 5A in Northwest Iowa. And today I'm doing my winter sowing project. I am really excited to do this year. I have a whole stack of seed packets here that I'm going to be doing. And winter sowing is such a fun project because it's a really early way to start seeds. But then it's also a really easy way because you kind of just set them on their own, let them do their thing, and then later on in the spring you get this surprise of seedlings, or you're supposed to anyway. So I have 11 varieties that I'm going to be sowing today, and most of these are hardy annuals. Now, if you're not familiar with hardy annuals, they're also called cool flowers, and basically that means that you can plant most of these. I'm saying most of these because I think a couple of mine actually aren't hardy annuals. But hardy annuals you can plant outside actually before your last frosty. So they're a really good way to get a jump start on your gardening season. One of the really popular hardy annuals that I plant out really early and plant a ton of every year are snapdragons. And that really helps me get a lot of early blooms for my early farmers markets. So before I go through how I'm gonna plant these and how the whole process works, I just wanna share with you the varieties that I'm planting today. So I have 11 varieties that I'm doing, and I will put a picture of each one of these on the screen as I go through these. The first one is a cone flower, and it is the mellow yellow echinacea. This is a perennial in my area, so if I can really bulk up on these this year, starting them from seed, that's gonna be just a really nice longevity crop for me throughout the years. Then the straw flower I'm doing is a seed from Flora. It's the copper red. I am doing a scabiosa, the fama white, also known as a pincushion flower. This is also a perennial in my area, so I'm looking to start a whole bunch of these. Then feverfew, I absolutely loved growing feverfew last year, and I need to grow a lot more of it this year in succession plantings. And I should also mention I am almost done with my 2023 garden plan. That will probably be the next video that you guys see. So watch for that. Feverfew, I'm doing the magic single variety. For snapdragons, I chose the Potomac Early Sunrise, one of my absolute favorite ones that I grew last year. Then I'm going to start some Buplorum, which was my favorite filler from last year. Now, I don't know if this particular one is a hardy annual or not, but I'm gonna do the Copper Plume Atriplex. And I read somewhere that this worked really good for winter sowing. So I wrote it down, and that's the only reason it's on my list. Bells of Ireland, I have always wanted to grow Bells of Ireland. So I'm gonna be starting this 2 different ways this year. I'm gonna do the winter sowing method today, and then a little later on, I'm gonna try the wet paper towel method. So we'll see which one works best. Then Rudbeckia. Rudbeckia is a really, really good one for winter sowing, and it's also a perennial in my area. I'm doing the Goldilocks variety. And then Dara, which is flowering carrot. I grew this last year, absolutely loved it. Super easy to grow. And then the last one is Bachelor Buttons, and Bachelor Buttons pretty much grow like a weed in my area. They self-seed, come back the next year, and they grow great. So I thought that they were the perfect variety to go in for the winter sowing. Now, winter sowing actually kind of emulates how I was just talking how my Bachelor Buttons do. So I have really good luck with like Bachelor Buttons and Calendula, dropping seed in the fall and then regrowing in the spring right in that same spot. They're not a perennial, they just self-seed and then they come back the next season. Winter sowing kind of emulates that. So when you winter sow, you plant the seeds following the instructions on the seed packet in these jugs, and then these are placed outside in the elements. So they will go through a freeze, all the temperatures in the climate, just like how a self-seeded plant will do. You wanna make sure to leave the lid off because any snow or rain will go down in through that hole, and that is the moisture to water these little miniature greenhouses. And then the sun and the warmer temperatures will heat this up kind of like a miniature greenhouse. and those seeds will just come to life in the spring, and they will start growing early outside before any of the rest of your plants are coming up in the ground. And a lot of times, because the seeds and the little seedlings have gone through the elements, they will actually come out being a stronger plant than the ones that you start inside. So that's another reason that this is a really good method to start. They can be stronger plants, and they're kind of a set and forget kind of method. Now you do want to make sure to put drain holes in the bottom because you want that extra moisture to drain. You do want to make sure to just use potting soil, not a seed starting mix, because it works much better. You want to make sure to label everything so you know exactly what it is. And again, you want to make sure to leave the lid off because that is how the water gets in there. Now, if you go through your winter and you don't get a lot of moisture, you want to make sure to check on these and water them yourself because the seeds actually do need the moisture even though they are probably frozen. Okay, so let me get started. I want to show you this whole process. So I have gone through and I have made tags for all of my jugs already. So I'm just gonna start with my bachelor buttons. I'll show you guys how I do this. To label my tags, I always use a garden marker. It's a permanent marker like a Sharpie, but these are specially made for outdoor use, so they're not going to fade. Sharpies will fade. I have totally learned my lesson. So I have my bachelor buttons tag, and I'm gonna go ahead and label the top of my milk jug also. Then the next thing I need to do is put holes in the bottom. I'm just using a little razor blade. So I kind of punch it in, twist a little bit. I'm just gonna put 4 on there. And then I need to cut the milk jug so it's open. So I like to keep the handle in place and then just kind of cut around the milk jug, and basically you're gonna make it so it's kind of like a flip top. There we go. So you don't cut all the way around. Well, I didn't get these very lined up. Maybe I need to go a little further. Whoop, there we go. Okay, so it's a flip top lid like that you will eventually tape shut, but this makes it super easy for planting. So the potting soil I'm using is just a Burpee organic mix. And I'm gonna put a couple scoops in here. So there's what it looks like. Get this out of the way. You only need a couple inches of soil in here because, again, these are just going to be seedlings, so they're going to be transplanted out in the garden, or I will pot them up, so I don't need to fill it all the way to the top. You do want to make sure to pre-moisten your soil. So I'm going to put a tray under here just because I already have those drainage holes in. And normally I would moisten all of my soil together, but I forgot my tray at home, so I'm doing it this way. This actually might be just a little bit faster. So I'm gonna pour a little bit of water in there. Mix it all up, kind of flatten it out. Okay, that's it. It's all pre-moistened. Let me go rinse my hand and then we'll put the seeds in. So again, you want to follow the instructions on the back of your seed packet. Before I put them in, I'm going to put my tag inside. So I know if I can't read this eventually, which I should be able to because it's that garden marker, I know I have a tag inside. So on the back of my seed packet, it says that these seeds need to be 1/4 inch deep. And I will put some close-ups on the screen also with the next ones I do, but basically I'm just gonna scatter them around in here. Then I'm gonna take a little bit more soil, sprinkle it over the top, make sure that they're covered because it said 1/4 inch deep. That should do it. Yep, I do not see the seeds anymore. Then I'm gonna take my spray bottle and I'm gonna mist it in really, really good. This is gonna settle the soil and settle those seeds. All right, I think that's good. Those are nice and misted in. Then to close it, I'm just gonna use duct tape. You can also use packaging tape, anything that will really hold these shut because you want them to be good and sealed. Oh my gosh, in my hair. So that is ready to go. And that's it. I'm gonna set this outside. I'll put a picture at the end of this video on the screen to show you guys where I set these, but I like to kind of nestle them in the snow. That way, if a wind gust comes through, they're not gonna move. I have had where the milk jugs tip over in the wind and then your soil gets all disturbed and then you don't have your seed placement in the soil. So I like to settle them in a little bit of snow so they don't move, put them all together tight, and then I probably will check these, maybe end of April, 1st of May. All right, I'm gonna zoom the camera in and show you one more before I do the rest of these. All right, so first I'm gonna put the holes in the bottom. And then I'm gonna cut around to make my handle. There's my flip top lid. My soil, 2 to 3 inches deep. Water it in. Mix it around. Perfect. Time to rinse my hands. This one's gonna be 8 triplex. So put my tag in. Sprinkle them around. Triplex says 1/4 of an inch deep, so I'm gonna put a light layer of soil on top of those and then mist them in. All right, that should do it. Now I just need to tape it closed. Okay, so I'm gonna get this taped up. I'm gonna do the rest of these milk jugs, but there's one more thing that I wanted to mention about a couple of these varieties. Buplorum and Bells of Ireland are recommended that they go through a cold stratification period. Basically, that means that the seeds need to freeze before you start them. So that is one of the reasons that these two work really well for this winter sowing, because you're going to be putting them outside and they will go through that freeze. If you're starting these inside, which on the back of the Flora seed packet, it says this. Oh my gosh, I should have my glasses on. It says to speed up germination, put seeds in the freezer for 10 to 14 days before sowing. And now I have never started this from seed before, but Buplorum last year I put in my freezer at home in a plastic bag just to make sure that I kept the seed packet dry. I put it in the freezer for 2 weeks before I did start it from seed, and they came up beautifully. So you want to make sure that if you're starting a seed that requires that cold stratification, do it winter sowing because it'll get that anyway, or just pop it in your freezer. Okay, I'm going to do the rest of these milk jugs. I'll show you what they look like when I'm done and where they're going outside. Okay, so here they all are. They are ready to go outside. I am so excited to see how these do this year. I think I really picked some good varieties this year for this product. There were a couple varieties that I sowed on top of the soil because they need light to germinate. That was snapdragons, Fama white pincushion flowers, and the feverfew. Those all got sprinkled on top of the soil. There may have been one other one, now I can't remember. But basically make sure to just follow the directions on the back of the seed packet, how you plant these, and they should be just fine. So I'm gonna bundle up now. I'm gonna head outside and put these in the snow. It's like 2 degrees today. We're going through a big time cold snap. It is so cold. So I'm gonna bundle up. I'm gonna set these outside. I'll put a picture up on the screen on where these go. And I will definitely make sure to do an opening video in the spring to show you guys how they did. And the next video I think you guys will see will probably be my full 2023 garden plan. I may have to break it up into 2 parts. I may have to do a separate video on my hoop house. But it's just gonna all be so exciting, so I cannot wait to share that with you guys too. So stay tuned for that. We'll see you soon. Okay, there they are. It's real brisk out today, so these should get frozen in no time. Can't wait till spring.